What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the GSN Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, John J. II, welcoming you tonight on a Wednesday, the 8th of July, 2026. I know it's late, but we got to get the message out there for the people. We got a lot to talk about in the sports world. We got Wimbledon going on. We got the World Cup. We got golf stuff happening. We got the announcement actually earlier today, and I guess you can call it a couple days ago. It's kind of been in the works. Justin Verlander announcing that this will be his last ride. And where else to finish that ride other than at the Detroit Tigers? I know they've dealt with some untimely injuries and things like that somewhat early to midway through the season. They're kind of dealing with some stuff. Okay, they're dealing with some stuff. They're battling back. They're doing what they have to do to reclaim their position in the MLB. And I give them props. I give them credit where credit's due. Scooball is out there doing Scooball things, battling injuries, and this team's going to be just fine. I'm not really too concerned. Everybody was kind of up on their high horse in other teams, in other camps, talking, you know what, this is basically it for Detroit. They're crumbling. They're falling down. They are crumbling under the pressure. It's too much for them. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that's true. I believe that's fake news, and I think they're going to be just fine. Now, are they going to have a World Series run in their cards? I think when you have the cards stacked against you, that's when you have the highest promise. That's when you have the highest chance of making a deep run, especially in the MLB. All you got to do is make it to the playoffs or make it to the wild card, and then you basically go from there. You play it game by game. So we're obviously a long ways out from that. But we just got to win games and continue through the regular season to dominate and to create high potential for a late season run. That's what we're hoping for with the Detroit Tigers. So first and foremost, let's just jump right into the World Cup. We have 8 teams left. Sadness and bedlam. We can call it bedlam for the U.S. men's national team after a huge win against Bosnia and Herzegovina. And the whole stadium, I mean, you want to talk about taking the world by storm. We haven't had an episode since then, but you want to talk about vibes. You want to talk about aura. And that is the U.S. men's national team singing John Denver's Take Me Home Country Roads. And the entire stadium is singing alongside them. It's just aura to the max. So that's what made you want to ride into the sunset with this team. That's what made me want to ride into the sunset with this team. We're always talking about guys like Landon Donovan and Alexi Lalas and others that are playing or were playing in U.S. men's national teams of old. And they have high hopes. And they have these things. And I love hearing what Alexi Lalas has to say because he likes taking the perspective of, yes, we know we're playing the big wigs. We're playing a team like Belgium. We're playing the team that's, these guys are big teams in the Euros, in these championships. They're playing for major super clubs all over the world. A lot of them in the Premier League, Serie A, Bundesliga, you name it. They're playing in these major super leagues in their club play. So when you're talking about playing, and you got Pulisic that plays in Serie A, and you got, Weston McKennie plays over there in Europe. Alexi wants to see the U.S. rise to be able to compete with teams in Europe. Kind of like Mexico did. They gave England a hell of a run. That was a hell of a game. I thought on paper Mexico could have easily won that game with the chances that they had. They capitalized on some chances. They left a couple goals out there, in my opinion. And you can look at it the same way with the U.S. They gave away some silly goals, big-time, untimely mistakes. And you can say, did they not rise to the occasion? Obviously, a team like Bosnia-Herzegovina, they're getting in on, I don't want to say a formality, but it's somewhat of a wild card scenario, getting in, beating the Azzurri to make it to the World Cup. And hats off to him. Edin Dzeko is a hell of a player. He's played for some of the best teams in the world in his club football. So you got players on that team, so it's not like a fluff win for that first win in the knockout round for the U.S. But To make it to the knockout round is big. To get a win in the knockout round is big. But to have such a poor performance after a huge equalizer goal from a PK, after it looked like the cards were stacked against you, it looked like, things were kind of crumbling from early on in the get-go. You thought they had a chance after that PK went in, but from there it all went downhill, and then they could never find an opportunity beyond that. That was sad. That was hard to watch. That was hard to stomach for just being a United States citizen, not only just a soccer fan, but this is where we live. This is where we work. This is where we play. This is where we do everything. So we're going to be fans of the team in the World Cup that's happening in our own backyard. We're going to be fans of the team that it represents us. So that goes without saying. But back to what Alexi Lalas said. He says, yeah, I understand that we're playing against these teams in Europe, but we have to rise to the occasion. We have to limit the mistakes. We have to be able to get the job done, at least give our best effort in a game in the round of 16 where we want to make it deep. We want to make it a game. We want to shock the world. We have the aura of the first win in the knockout round. And we want to be able to build from that and capitalize on the moment. And that's what they failed to do. And they left too much out on the field, in my opinion. And it was just a sad scene. It was sad to watch. And I couldn't even watch the last couple minutes of it because it was the Belgian fans and the Belgian players celebrating in the faces of the United States fans and the United States players. And they were in our own backyard. So it was a home game for us. They played like it was a home game for them, and that hurt me a little bit. But hats off to Belgium, and they decided to finally play some soccer, which I thought they should have lost to Senegal. They come up with a couple late goals at the end of that game, and we've seen that happen with a couple games. We saw that happen with Argentina and Egypt yesterday, which Egypt basically gave that game to Argentina. A controversial goal called back against Egypt for a foul that was leading into the buildup that would have eventually tied the game, I think, and would have led to extra time. But be it as it may, that's the beauty of the World Cup, is you have things happen in the dying embers of the game. You can go back and look at the game between Portugal and Croatia. The goal that was taken back because of an offsides call, and then the controversy between VAR and what should be allowed, what should be disallowed, what should VAR do to intervene in certain situations, how does it affect the game? So that's kind of one of those things where the technology aspect is, you want to get the right call. Don't get me wrong, you want to get the right call, but you want to retain that human element. That's what's allowed so many World Cups up until the modern era to take place and results to be made, is these human elements that are brought in. And I'm not saying let calls go or let things happen, but I want to have a definitive knowledge. I want to have definitive knowledge that touch was made and that the player was in an offside position. Now, don't get me wrong. I was pulling for Portugal. I wanted Portugal to beat Spain. I hate Spain. I really do. I just have flashbacks from the Euro final in 2012 between the Azzurri and Spain, and that was just it was a dogging. It was a dogging of the game, of the match by Spain. They just dominated the Azzurri, and it was just too much for them. And they just have a little bit of an edge to them. They're good. They're good. Don't get me wrong. They're good, but they have a pompousness to them. And that game could have went either way. A lot of chances left on the field, and the same can be said for Portugal for losing to Spain. So now it's going to be Spain and Belgium in the bottom left quadrant of the World Cup bracket, in the Elite Eight, we'll call it. So we got France and Morocco, we got Spain and Belgium, we got Norway and England. That's going to be a hell of a game. Masterclass by Erling Haaland, just dominated Brazil, kind of left them in the dust. Kind of reminded me of the World Cup in 2014 when the same thing happened to Brazil against Germany in their backyard. So that was sad scenes for them. They have a little bit of the same kind of aspect of, and that was a little bit worse actually than the Belgium USA game. But that happened in your own backyard. You got fans are crying, players are crying. You just see the air is taken out of the stadium. So that was a little bit of a flashback for me from that experience for the Brazilians in 2014 going against Germany, similar to USA and Belgium. But looking at that, seeing Norway prevail, seeing Holland really dominate and take charge of this Norwegian team, it kind of shows us what are they capable of, how deep can they go, especially with how much trouble Mexico gave England. Now England, they finish the games, they get the job done when they have to, and they have the team to make deep runs, and they have the stature and the players, the roster to do that, to back it up. Same with Argentina. They have the ability to get down in games and then to find a way and claw back. Switzerland, Colombia, that's about as even of a game as you can get on paper. It goes to penalties. Switzerland squeaks out a win. Now, whenever a game goes to penalties, and we look back at the 2022 World Cup when that went to penalties and Argentina wound up pulling away, it's a crapshoot. It really is a crapshoot because you're looking at penalties, which you can say it's 50-50, but I would say the odds are stacked against the keeper, regardless of how much pressure is on the goal scorer, the shooter from the spot. But it's tough to make that goal. It's tough to make a decision. It's tough to not stutter step. I'm against stutter steps. A lot of players do it. It takes away momentum from the shot. It gives the keeper an edge, I believe, when the player, the shooter, does a stutter step. So it doesn't matter how you look at it. You can dive into that as much as you want. You can look into the book. They have a binder of where did they go in the last 5 attempts, and all that's bullshit to a great extent. But looking at games ending in penalties, I get it. The game has to have a result. You have to have a result. So when games go to penalties, especially in the World Cup or especially in the Euros, we saw the Euro final between England and the Azzurri go to penalties. It happens. Okay, it happens. I would like a golden goal situation in extra time. I just think it eliminates a lot of that unknown from going to penalties. It's similar to hockey where you have a golden goal. The final goal finishes it off. But obviously that's not the format for the World Cup, and I understand that. But it's a lot of soccer. It's a lot of soccer. If you go all the way through the 90 minutes, you go all the way through extra time, an extra 30, with short breaks in between. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of soccer. So you got to finish the game, and you got to do what you got to do to get things done. Get things done in a timely manner. So I understand why they do it. But it's sad when it comes to that. It comes down to penalties, in my opinion. Hot take. But be it as it may, we have 8 teams rather left. And who will be at the top? Who will be at the top after this Elite 8 is decided? If I had to make a pick, just looking at how certain teams have played and how certain things have panned out, France looks really good. But I think that somebody has their number. Maybe in the Final Four, Morocco could shock the world and beat France. That would be an amazing thing. But we got some great games coming up, regardless of how you look at it. The nose is meeting the grindstone, and it's happening quickly. So we'll have to wait and see. But I love Norway. France is a solid contender. Spain, okay. Argentina, obviously. England can play soccer when they want to. Switzerland obviously could shock the world after seeing what Egypt was able to do against Argentina, and even Cape Verde. I would have loved to see Cape Verde win that game. But it is what it is. Sad scenes for Ronaldo and the Portuguese. You can call it an early exit, but they just didn't have the poise that it took to beat this Spain team. They had it defensively, but they didn't have it in the goal-scoring department. So I expect more from a Portugal team that's basically stacked. You got Ronaldo, you got players young and old that should be able to bring it together. They were unable to do that. So it is what it is. That's the beauty of the World Cup. It's cutthroat. Good teams are going to lose. That's just the reality of it. And we'll have to wait and see. It's only going to get better from here. Looking at Wimbledon. Now, Zverev is looking great. We'll just talk about Zverev real quick. Coming off a Roland Garros win, looking for another Grand Slam, looking for the win at Wimbledon. You got the great British, the Great Britain, the guy from Great Britain. I don't even know his name. We'll have to look at him, but he just knocked off Caboli, the Italian, sitting at number 9 in the 9 seed. Now, I know we're not going off world rankings. This is the 9 seed in Wimbledon. He knocked him off, and it's really a battle. You talk about tennis. You talk about a game of inches. Okay, Ferry. This is the guy, Ferry. All right. Arthur Ferry defeats Flavio Caboli in 3 sets, going 6-0 in the final set, in the third set. Damn, that's crazy. Zverev beat Taylor Fritz in 3 sets as well, going 6-4, 6-4, and then 6-2. Taylor looked like he was dealing with some injury. He was dealing with the leg. The leg was getting worked on by the trainer. It could never come back to that full potential, and that we saw that happen with Jannik Sinner in the earlier rounds as well, where he was dealing with some things. He was able to bring it back and figure it out, and now we got a big match between Jannik Sinner and Novak Djokovic. Now Djokovic is pulling for that 25th major. I'm pulling for Joker Noel. I'm talking about him all the time. I'm talking to my buddies. We put posts out today about it. Told him take a bow, because what he's been able to do and how he was able to beat Felix of Canada was a sight to be seen. Now, that was a masterclass going all the way to the end, all the way to a 10-point. It was a 10-point. What do I call it? It was a 10-point. I don't even know what to call it. It was a 10-point situation. We'll just call it that. And wow, tiebreak. That's what it is. Going to a 10-point tiebreak in the 5th set to be able to clutch up. Everybody's tired. This guy's 39 years old. He's got to clutch up. He's got to make big things happen in front of a big stage. We know he's not foreign to this stage, right? Center court at Wimbledon. He's not foreign to this stage. He's used to this. He's built for this. And he showed that yesterday. And we were pulling for the guy. We were. And a lot of people in that stadium were pulling for Novak Djokovic to win in 5 sets. He was telling his kids, once it started going into the dying embers, the late night over there in London, he told his kids, go to bed. Go to bed. It's too late. It's too late. They couldn't go to bed, though. They had to stay up and watch their dad perform. And damn, did he perform. He got the job done. I'm always on pins and needles watching Novak, because I know he's getting up there in age. I know he's getting close to retirement. He's got to be. I know he's chasing 25. And you just want to see him win so bad, but you know he's playing against the youth in tennis, where it's just getting younger and younger, and the players are getting better and better and faster. Equipment's getting better and better. And you still have to get the job done. You still have to make the things happen, make the shots, and paint the lines, do what you got to do. And to see that poise, to see that grit, that determination to win from Novak Djokovic, regardless, putting everything aside, basically giving Father Time the middle finger and saying, we're going to get the job done no matter what, no matter how long it takes. We're going to make things happen. And that's exactly what they did. And that's exactly what he did. So hats off to Novak Djokovic. I'm pulling for him. Go ahead, beat Jannik Sinner. Do it. I know he's dealing with some injury, but we don't want to bank on that. We were looking at Roland Garros and tracking the path. Now, it was Fonseca of Brazil that took down Novak Djokovic in 5 sets. A very similar match to the match against Felix, where he was able to build and do certain things and clinch certain sets where it mattered. But really, no matter how much you're up, even if you go up 2 sets right off the bat, it's not over yet. You got to get that 3 sets. So when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, you got to clutch up. You got to make things happen. You got to make magic happen. Become a magician. Pull the rabbit out of the hat and get the job done. And that's what Novak Djokovic did yesterday. But we've seen him fall short. We've seen him beat Jannik Sinner in Australia earlier in the year. So we know that he can do it. We've seen him lose to Sinner, obviously, as well in majors of old, but isn't that old. Going back a couple years, Jannik Sinner's really clinched his own right as the top dog in tennis. And now still no Carlos Alcaraz, no Carlitos. So You can call that an edge, call it whatever you want, but you got Alexander Zverev is rising to the top quickly, sitting at the 2 seed, kicking ass, taking names, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with going into future events. So he is becoming the third guy. He's kind of building his way. He wants to claim his spot on the new Mount Rushmore of tennis greats. He wants to get up there with Carlos Alcaraz. He wants to get up there with Jannik Sinner. And everybody's going to chase Novak, but Novak could retire tomorrow. He could have retired 10 years ago and accomplished more than many of these players have in their tenure and probably ever will, just with the talent that is in the sport and that's shown itself to be present in the sport in the modern era. So it's really a sight to see. But we're going into the semis now, and it's going to be a hell of a ride. It's kind of an interesting thing. So we're going into Wimbledon semis. We're going into the semis, essentially the semis, right? Or the semis, the quarters. We'll just call it the Elite Eight. The Elite Eight in the World Cup. Elite Eight and semis. It's going to all converge. It's going to all build up to a head. We're going to see some magic happen here in the next week or so. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's going to be a great stuff. Okay, we're going to kind of get into some golf stuff now. We're going to talk about Johnny Golf. We're going to talk about, first of all, we got to talk about Chris Gotterup. So we can say he's kind of blended into the background a little bit in the last couple events. He's found a resurgence. He won the Sony early in the year, and then he won another event, and now he comes back and wins the John Deere. And it was highlighted that Chris Gotterup, when he addresses the ball, his feet are not necessarily aimed towards the target. Okay, they might be aimed to the left, they might be aimed to the right, depending on the kind of shot he's trying to shape. And that's interesting because you want to think, and we talk about this all the time on the show. I do it when I'm practicing on the range, when I'm practicing my shots on the course, even during league. You want to be able to have your feet and your body square to the ball, but also directly adjacent on a 90-degree angle to the target. Okay, and then that's your miss radius. Your miss radius is inside and out from there. And you obviously want to keep your shoulders square. You want to be square on the ball. That's kind of what we talked about in the last episode. You want to be square, and you don't want those shoulders, that plane of your shoulders going back and through the ball. You don't want that to deviate too much left or right. So that means you got to keep your shoulders square entirely through contact and beyond contact. Okay, going back to Mo Norman, that school of thought, 3 feet behind the ball, 3 feet beyond the ball. You want to be completely square. That means shoulders and plane of attack, follow through, etc. You want that to be square. If that's not square, you're going to open yourself up to problems. Now, Chris Gotterup has shown himself to be the exception to the rule. There was a clip that was played. We see his feet, we see his shoulders, we see where he's at, during address, and the ball flight and the flight of the early contact. So on its approach to the apex, okay, so it's going up, is completely different from his shoulders and his feet at address. Now this is unique because he is going entirely off field and he's deviating from that square position to find an angle of attack that basically his hands and his arms and his shoulders are taking on a job of their own. They are deviating from the position at address, which is unique. It's different because that requires an incredible amount of feel. And he talks about it. He speaks to the fact that he is a player based on feel. He is going to feel where he wants to go, where he wants to attack, where he wants to begin the ball flight, where he wants the ball to finish based on the type of shot that he's playing. And if I can find the clip, I'll post it on the Gin Pros Twitter account here later tonight or tomorrow morning. But it's just amazing that this guy can do this and that he can win tournaments by doing it. It is an anomaly of sorts. When you're talking about the golf swing, you're talking about mechanics, you're talking about certain aspects of the golf swing, physics. A lot of things come into play. A lot of things come to the forefront when you're talking about where the ball is going and where you want it to end up. So kind of an anomaly in a sense, but he's able to execute it well. So that's really all I can say about it, is it's an anomaly and that it's kind of amazing to watch. It's amazing to see this guy play golf. And especially looking at how he plays in the first couple rounds, he'll basically skirt his way into a cut, and then he'll go cutthroat mode going into the weekend, moving day. He is just a phenom, and he's lights out with the driver most of the time. His irons are second to none. Wedge play, his hands are good, and his putter, when it's on fire, you can't douse the flames. So this guy is he's got a lot of promise. He's going to give Scotty a run for his money. He's coming after Wyndham Clark. A lot of these guys that have essentially made a name for themselves. Wyndham more so than Scotty. Scotty's kind of at his he's still on his ascent, but he's kind of getting to the point where he's good. He's claimed his spot as a household name. Wyndham is getting there, and Chris Gotterup is rising quickly. So you got guys that are making a name for themselves. You got guys that are fighting for position. They're fighting to keep their card. They're fighting to keep their status on the PGA Tour. They're fighting to remain as a viable contender in these events. And not only to be a viable contender, but to even play in these events. A lot of guys are fighting for their lives week after week just to keep playing events. They don't want to go back to the DP World Tour. They don't want to go back to the Korn Ferry Tour. They don't want to go to the European Tour. They want to play on the PGA Tour. So when you see these events take place, now we got the Scottish coming up this weekend. Starts early in the wee hours tonight, actually. You got some crossover between LIV, and there's some gray area on what events that they can play because it's technically a European Tour event. So they have different rules, regulations on when LIV golfers can play or where they can play at in these certain events. But be it as it may, the aura around the PGA Tour is alive and well. We've seen that happen. We've seen players return. Brooks Koepka being the we can call him the guinea pig of the guys that left and the guys that are coming back. But I think we'll see a lot more of that happen here in the next year or so, where there'll be a resurgence of players that maybe are losing faith in LIV. Now, you can say that they're losing money. You can say that they're losing funding, and Greg Norman's on his way out and things like that. The Saudis are kind of saying, you know what, we're not willing to throw this money around like we were. And I guess the jury's still out on what the true outcome will be with LIV Golf. But we'll have to wait and see. But everybody's fighting for position. Everybody's fighting to become a household name. And we've drawn the comparisons. We've drawn the parallels between golf and tennis. They're both games of class. They're both games of fighting for status. We've seen players where, and players like Jordan Spieth, that he's won the John Deere. He's won these events, and he just can't find a way to reclaim his spot. And he can't find a way to get back in the winner's circle. And that's got to be so frustrating because these guys have done it. These guys have won the biggest events in the world. But to be able to reclaim that status after being out of it for so long, it's infinitely difficult. And you're doing it week after week. You're talking about games of inches, games of millimeters. So these things matter, and the parallels between golf and tennis really are endless, in my opinion. We might do a podcast directly on that at some point, but there's too much going on right now. We can't talk about it all in detail like we want to at this time. So let's just talk about Golf Johnny. Okay, Golf Johnny. I love bringing in these aspects. It's similar to what we talked about, and I love what we talked about last episode, because what we talked about last episode was being square to the body, or square to the ball on a dress and through impact, because we want to be able to see things happen. We want to be able to have confidence in where our attack is, and we want to be able to be confident where the ball is going to go. So in saying that, this is the second piece of the puzzle. Let the hands follow the lower body. Okay, the lower body has to lead. I don't care if you're hitting a wedge. I don't care if you're hitting a mid iron. I don't care if you're hitting a long iron. I don't care if you're hitting driver. Okay, the lower body has to lead and has to tell the hands where to go. So once the lower body leads, and this is something that people have gone through and I have gone through and maybe have gotten away from, but it's something that I want to get back to in a major way. And that is exactly that. Let the hands follow the lower body. So what does that mean? That means you get to the top of your backswing. You want to start from there, from the top, from the apex of the swing, of the backswing. You want to start with the lower body, with the legs, with the hips, with the knees, with the quads, the thighs. And then from there, you want to bring the hands through. But basically, that creates a path for you to allow the body, allow the arms, allow the upper body to then follow the lower body. Get the hands, get the arms in the slot, and then fire through the ball. It's using the body and the physics and the ergonomics of the body to create the best opportunity for a great outcome in your swing. So certain things can happen when you're doing this that will allow the swing to either be, or the shot to either be good or bad. So if the hands are too slow, the shot's going to be open. If the hands and the upper body is too fast and it beats the lower body, it's probably going to be a pull because it goes back to you being square of the ball. So you have to bring those hands through with some urgency, because if you don't, they're going to be too slow. It's going to be wide open. But you got to trust the hands, trust the upper body to follow through, to then get through the ball and have a solid opportunity to make good contact on the ball. That's going to allow the club face to be square, allow the shoulders to be square, and allow for a small miss radius. You want it to be 10, 15 yards of miss radius. Now, it's not counting for whether you're playing a cut, whether you're playing a draw. That goes into more specific mechanics of the swing. So keep it simple, stupid. We want to just get the hands through in a timely manner. Not too fast, not too slow, but with urgency. And that's the best way I can put it. Get on the range, try it out for yourself, and you might find that it's going to help you out, help your game. Now, practice makes perfect. You're not just going to get on the range or not going to get out on the course playing league and expect these things to happen automatically. You got to find your groove. Everybody's swing is different. That's why when people ask me for pointers, really with my game, with how sporadic it's been, I put some good scores up lately. I posted a 38, 2 over 2 weeks ago. Actually, last week in league at Briar Ridge, playing the back nine, posted a 38, had a couple birdies, felt really good about my putter, felt really good about my iron shots, felt decent about my woods. Kept the driver in the bag for most holes, but I took it out on a couple holes where I needed the distance. But the wedges were on fire. Putter was on fire. Short irons were on fire. Mid to long irons are still getting there. But following these tactics, it's really helped my game. And committing to the shot. Committing to the shot is almost everything. So think about all that stuff. Put it in a blender. Find it. Utilize these pointers and things like that. And add them to your swing. Add them to your practice. Add them to your range sessions. And you're going to see some things happen. Okay, so moving into the latter half, we'll talk about the latter half, going back to the PGA Tour and talking about professional events. How much do golf analytics matter? Because Sobolewski and I, we've been in this golf pool for quite some time. We're fighting, we're battling for position, we're getting there, we're getting some wins, we're making some cuts, we're getting some money as far as salary, as far as money earnings per event for the players that we're picking. But we're falling short in the category of finding those niche guys to perform in certain events. So how much does golf analytics really matter? And how much of a crapshoot is it when you're picking players to win events? So you can look at it as past performance. You can look at it as did they get a top 10? Did they get a top 5 in the last couple weeks? Are they building on what they're accomplishing at different courses and different tracks, different terrain, different environments, different elevation? All these things matter, and that's the biggest thing about golf. And another comparison to golf and tennis, maybe not a direct comparison, but you're playing on different terrain almost every time. You're playing on different undulation. You're playing on different planes of gameplay, of the field that you're playing on. You're playing on different planes. Now, that's more so for golf than tennis. You're playing on level ground, no matter what the terrain is when you're playing tennis. But when you're playing golf, you could be on a slope, you could be on a downslope, upslope, you could be side to side, you could be hitting out of a pot bunker, right? So putting all those things into a blender and analyzing where you're at on the course matters. But that's going to affect the entirety of everything. You can't always place shots to level ground. So how do golf analytics really play in? And I'm asking everybody because I haven't really figured it out. Essentially, you got guys that, we'll call them no-name guys. Obviously, they've made a career for themselves in the world of golf. So none of these guys that are playing on the world stage are no-name guys. Okay, I'm not gonna put that out there. But for lack of a better term, that's what we'll call them. You got no-name guys that are placing top 2, top 3, top 5 in tournaments. Sometimes they're winning, right? Guys that maybe have never won before are going out and winning events. And then you got your big name guys that aren't really performing to the highest caliber, to the caliber that they should be. So calculating all the analytics, and then also, and this goes for when we're talking about betting on college football, we're talking about betting NFL. We're getting into football season soon. Can't believe it. But talking about basketball, you got past performance, which is really all we got when you're compiling the analytics, putting them in a blender. But how much do they actually matter? Because you still have to go out and achieve the goal of placing in the top 5 or placing in the top 10 or winning. So using your best judgment to seeing how they performed, greens hit, fairways hit, strokes under par, strokes gained, things like that, putting those analytics into a blender and really using the best of your knowledge to seeing how they're going to perform, how have they performed on certain tracks that are similar to the upcoming event. And I guess I haven't really found a master system to do it, because if I did, then I think that we'd be doing better collectively as a team, as the Polish boys, which were in the Oak Tree pool. So putting that into a blender and finding those guys, because it's easy to go to the big name guys, but it's easy to maybe put the guys that maybe aren't the big name household guys, putting those guys to the side and being like, you know what, let's go with a big name guy. And it's easy to do that, but being able to look at the lesser known guys and treat them as high contenders, that's the important factor. That is the missing link. And getting to that point is what makes picking golf winners so difficult. And not even winners, but just cuts. Making cuts is the name of the game when it comes to earnings and it comes to overall earnings. When we're talking about at the end of the season, we need to talk about overall earnings. So there's a lot that goes into it. I'm still compiling the equations and the formulas to get to those, guys where I can narrow it down to 4 or 5 guys that have performed well at these places, at these events, these tracks, and they should have a good chance if they show up. If they don't withdraw, right? We had Morikawa withdraw when we had him, and I think it was on the second hole, and that was just a heartbreaker. But seeing that happen, avoiding that if possible, there's nothing you can really do about it. If the guy tweaks his back, didn't stretch, but looking at these things, taking into account the analytics of golf and golf events and players, and being able to make the best picks. This could help for golf pools. This could help for fantasy golf. You do that, and it could especially help for picking individuals for sports bets in golf. So things to consider. We're still compiling that, and if I get a formula, I'm not going to say I'm going to release it. I might give tidbits, but we might keep it tight to the vest. But I'll tell you guys what's going on if I do figure it out, if I gain some traction in that department. Haven't been able to do so yet. So we're hoping we can get there and get there fast. So going back to the Gin Golf Tour, the boys hit up Black Bear a couple weeks ago, and it was a hell of a time. It was a hell of a time. Great time with a lot of great guys. So I was playing with my brother Sammy. We took it on the nose on the second day at Black Bear to the boy Manerick and D Black. They played out of their mind, shot under par both rounds in a 2-man. And let's just say there was some money that was lost, but it was lost in good fun. We played great golf. They just played a lot better. So that's just an ode to golf itself. It's a game of inches. It's a game of strokes. You got to be able to putt. You got to be able to chip. You got to be able to create opportunities for yourself. We were unable to do that better than they were. So hats off to D Black and the boy Tony Manerick for getting the job done and taking the chip and doing what they had to do to really rise to the occasion. Won a couple skins. They definitely kicked our ass in strokes. We did 3-stroke tallies or 3-stroke compilations, if you will. Totals, 3-stroke totals, and 3-stroke or 3-hole stints. 3-hole stints. So they bested us and did a great job doing it. They didn't just best us, they kicked our ass. So I'm the first to admit it. I had a great time. I had a lot of fun. And the boys played great. A lot of great shots were made. And the track was tough. The track was tough. The greens were fast. I'd say they were rolling at least a 10. Great conditions. It was hot, firm and fast. They weren't biting as much, but they were. They were biting in the morning. And they were sticking. They were sticking. So I was happy to see the boys do what they had to do to get the job done. Wasn't happy to lose. But I was happy to take part in the Gin Golf Tour in the two-man. The two-man lives on. It's the greatest format in golf, in my opinion. But I might be biased in that department. Be it as it may. Okay, last thing we'll talk about here tonight. So the MGM Sportsbook has Michigan State over under 4.5 wins. Now, Pat Fitzgerald coming into his first year, he's got a lot riding on this. And let's just say there might be some skin put out there for the over on this just to ride and see what happens. Because 4.5 wins, really? That seems a little bit harsh. Now we're talking plus money. We could see these lines changing as far as what maybe the line. I don't know if the line's going to change. It's a futures bet. We're a month out from college football. But to be plus 140 at over 4.5 wins, I think we smashed that. So we're looking into smashing that. And then we take it or leave it. If you win, you win, hopefully handily with games to go. Okay, if we get to 5, then we have games to go. Then we're feeling good. Could have a great season. Could have a terrible season. I think they're banking on the inaugural season for Pat Fitzgerald to be a shitty one. And I think that's a shame because I would like to hope that Pat Fitzgerald played for Northwestern, coached at Northwestern. He knows the Big Ten. He knows the old Big Ten. He should be able to rise to the occasion and get at least 5 wins in his first year with Michigan State. Okay? You did great in recruiting. You seem to have high hopes, high promise, regardless of all the politics that's going on within Michigan State athletics right now. I would like to hope that you can get to 5 wins. Now, I'm not saying you're automatically going to get there. Maybe this plus money, maybe Vegas knows something I don't know. And obviously the Big Ten is going to be a force to be reckoned with as far as a conference, no matter how you slice it, just with how many teams, how many organizations, NIL money, transfer portal, you name it. It's becoming a shit show as a whole when you're talking about college athletics. But I hope we can get to 5 wins. If we can get to 5 wins, we'll be doing jumping jacks. So that's what I'm hoping for. We're looking into smashing that. Be sure to follow Bet with Gin on Instagram to be able to follow those slips and see if we smash that or not. We'll have to talk to the community and see what they think. But I'm thinking about smashing it, put some big money on it. Maybe not big money. We'll put a good chunk of change on it. And we'll hope for the best. That's what betting's all about, right? So just as a disclaimer, we talk about sports betting all the time here on this podcast. Okay, our community is very in tune, especially with the World Cup going on. You got Wimbledon going on. You got bets being thrown out. You got some far out bets going on. You got some long shot bets out there. That's fine. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you get cash out opportunities, sometimes you don't, depending on the sports book. But make sure you're betting responsibly. Don't put the house on it. Don't put your paycheck on it. Throw some skin out there. Don't put any money out that you're not willing to lose. And just have some fun. Be calculated. Have a reason to bet. Don't just go out and bet just because. Have a reason. Have a purpose. So that's my 2 cents. That's my words of wisdom here tonight. Now we're into Thursday, so you're welcome. Take it for what it's worth. All right. Be sure to check us out on social media at Gin Sports Network on Instagram, Gin Pros on Twitter, and find us on our website, ginsportsnetwork.com, and find me on IG and Twitter at Gin Commish. We'll be sure to keep the conversation going on there. And thank you guys so much for joining us tonight on the Gin Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, as always, John J. II. See you next time. Have a great night.